Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, professional Western and Vedic astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In this episode, my guest, Jack Hauck, a certified gemologist and certified Vedic astrologer, will explain the power and practice of wearing Vedic gems. This helps planets in your Vedic chart so one experiences their positive effects. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out how to get your gem consultation. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Jack Hauck, who will speak about the benefits of wearing Vedic gems and how they can help us improve our life experiences. Vedic gems are considered a remedial measure in Vedic astrology to help mitigate planetary problems. But simply said, they are a form of energy medicine. The art of wearing Vedic gemstones is an ancient practice that goes way back to ancient times in India, where Vedic astrologers, known as Jyotishas, and their wisdom was revered, and actually still is by some in modern-day India. This ancient practice can help us in our contemporary lives. I'm quoting Jack Hauck's website now, healinggems.com, spelled HEALINGEMS.com. Jack says, quote, "There is a practical side to the study of astrology that involves the use of certain remedial agents that act to protect the body and mind. For thousands of years, mankind has known that certain gemstones, metals, and plants can have a positive effect on the body and mind by nullifying or mitigating the harmful influences of the stars," unquote. My guest, Jack Hauck, has a background in metaphysical studies for over 35 years. In 1996, he founded Healing Gems in Phoenix, Arizona. He has studied extensively in this field, including gaining 2 key professional degrees focusing upon Vedic quality gemstones. Those degrees are, in 2002, he was a certified gemologist by the Gemological Institute of America, GIA. 2004, Jack is certified as a Vedic astrologer by the American College of Vedic Astrology. Jack has lectured at astrology conferences, most notably 2 American College of Vedic Astrology conferences and the 2008 United Astrological Conference, UAC. His lecture was entitled, quote, "The Healing Power of Gemstones." Jack's website is www.healinggems.com. That's HEALINGEMS.com. Jack's wide-ranging interests and practices, including those related to Hindu disciplines and culture, add depth and perspective to his Vedic quality gemstone expertise in dealings with the public. He's an MBA, currently doing corporate accounting, is a piano tuner, and is well-traveled internationally. Jack is also a longtime meditator, yoga practitioner, and is accomplished on the harmonium, a pump-reed keyboard used for Indian devotional chanting. Jack is dedicated to offering clients the highest quality gems at fair prices from a wide-ranging inventory. And if he doesn't have the Vedic quality gem you need in stock, he will use his network of trusted suppliers to locate that gemstone for you. You can get a hold of Jack at 480-763-0132 for his phone number and his website, Jack Hauck at healinggems.com. That's Jhauck at healinggems.com. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome Jack Hauck, the founder of Healing Gems. It's welcome, Jack. So nice to have you on Cosmic Scene. I know my listeners are going to love hearing your expertise on Vedic gems.
Thank you, Jill. Good to be here.
I think listeners would like to know, how did you get into Vedic astrology and Vedic gems?
It was kind of a roundabout way, and it was during college that I was introduced to Eastern thought, metaphysical subjects, and it was a comfortable association. And I felt, like I was coming home to knowledge that was already familiar to me. And after a time, I started to meditate. I found a spiritual path where they taught spiritual techniques for meditation and helping to interiorize. And so I've been meditating for many decades. And the meditation has really helped me to kind of open my mind to, again, to the Eastern thought. And then I also lectured on metaphysical subjects through the years. And I'd read in the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda the use of gemstones and to mitigate, to nullify the effects of karma. And of course, karma, the concept of karma and reincarnation, those are big Eastern concepts that are not that well known in the West, but they made a lot of sense to me. Is that each of us has seed tendencies that we bring from the past, from past lives, and these are called samskaras, and that they are waiting for something, water, if you will, to it. They're like seeds and they need to germinate. And what is it that makes them germinate? And that's the planetary energies. The karma is ours. The astrology doesn't create karma. All it does is it's sort of a timing issue. Is that astrology awakens the tendencies, the karma that's already within us.
That's a beautiful explanation. Thank you, Jack. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Okay. Now, karma, there's different types of karma, if you will. There's sort of easy karma that you have a tendency for something and you say, well, this isn't good for me, and it's easy to stop. And then you have some karma that's a little bit more difficult, and it takes more effort. It takes conscious effort. It might take some time to, say, overcome a certain personality trait. And then you can have very difficult, very challenging karmas, such as addictions, that maybe a person for many lifetimes has been engaged in that activity. And it can take a long time to get through that karma. And that effectively you may fight it your entire lifetime. But what the ancient seers in India discovered was that they realized that there are certain things that you can do to mitigate, to nullify the effects of the stars, when they bring these seed tendencies to germinate. You can have plants, you can have plants and herbs, incense, different types of food and diet, and of course the gemstones and other metals. And then you can also do prayer and meditation, which I feel are the best remedial measures that there are. And what these remedial measures do, it's a science in Vedic astrology. It's called upayas, or the remedial measures.
Right.
And there's all different kinds, but the gemstones, they're sort of the crown jewel of the remedial measures. Of course, they're pretty and attractive, and they're fun to wear, but they can also serve such a tremendous benefit for mitigating the effects of the stars. And what they do is, again, the planets are sending out energies, and they're constantly, there's positive and negative energies, if you will, or challenging and beneficial energies. And these energies, again, are awakening the samskaras. And when you say you have a planet that's weak in your chart, and you wear a gemstone for that particular planet, that it boosts the positive energies of that planet and helps to lessen the effects of the stars.
Yes. Well, thank you for explaining that, Jack. I just have a couple comments. Yes, that karma that you're talking about that we come in with, that's basically shows up in the astrology chart, the Vedic astrology chart is Prarabdha karma. And in the Vedics, there's Vedic teachings, there's a lot about that. And you're right, like the upayas are very important for the Prarabdha karma as shown by your astrological placements. And gemstones are one. And my listeners are very familiar with Sanskrit mantras as a remedy because we have about 15 episodes on Sanskrit mantras. But
Ah,
I'm so glad that you're going to be here to explain about the philosophy of the use of gem remedies a little bit more and why it might be even more effective, or what is the difference in the gem remedies as opposed to something like chanting Sanskrit mantras. In my experience, I feel like, as you said, it's the crown jewel. And that it really, if people are feeling blocked and they're not seeing the results they want from the mantras, that sometimes wearing the gem will push through whatever that blockage is.
right. I do recommend to people that just don't do one remedial measure. do a number of them, and whatever you can fit comfortably within your lifestyle. And some people, they'll just put a gemstone on, and as beneficial as it may be, if they did prayer, if they're already doing prayer and meditation, that would help. And if they're doing something, if something physical is going on, go to a doctor,
Right.
or go to some medical professional. That's a remedial measure. Just doing anything you can, do multiple ways of helping yourself. Go to professional counseling if it's necessary. That's a remedial measure also.
Right. And sometimes when you are chanting Sanskrit mantras or meditating or praying and you get a gemstone, you're guided to the right healer to go to the right next remedial measure, the dietary shifts that people may have to make, or, they get what I call drop-ins as far as like their own inner guidance. What is the next step or what would help assist in the process?
Right.
Thank you, Jack. When we come back, we'll talk about why is it important to consult an expert when buying a Vedic gem. Going on the internet and just buying a gem may not be the best way of approaching it. So stay tuned. My guest is Jack Hauck. Jack, we're talking about Vedic gems. And why is it important for listeners or those interested in getting a gem to consult an expert? What are some of the cautionary tales, or why is it important to know that you're wearing the right gem?
Right. Well, thanks, Joe. Good question. And I do get this sometimes. I'll have people that will come in and they'll show me a ring. Well, what do you think of my ring? And I'll look at the stone, and the quality may not be all that good. And I said, well, where did you get it? And they said, well, I got it on the internet. And one of the issues, or the major issue of a Vedic gemstone is the quality. The better the quality, the better the effect. And by quality, I mean, say, for instance, the depth of color, or the lack of inclusions or things inside the gemstone that would prevent it from being full of light, if you will. And I took gemological training, and we learned how to look at gemstones, and we look at on the inside of them with a loupe. We look at them with a microscope. And after, with experience, you can look at stones and you say, oh, this is, I like looking at emeralds. Oh, this is a nice deep color. I can look inside, and inside the gemstones. And with emeralds in particular, they do naturally come with a lot of inclusions. So some of them are fine, but other gemstones such as topaz, for instance, they're very clean stones coming from nature like that. But when I go and buy a gemstone, first of it, I look at it from a gemological perspective. Does it have a nice cut? Does it have a nice color? How are the inclusions in it? And then I shift from the sort of the gemological side, and then I look at it from the heart. I'll look at it and say, do I like this gem? Is this a gem that I would want to buy? Is this a gem that I would feel comfortable and confident in showing to a customer that this is a beautiful stone? And so I use those two criteria when I buy my gems. Now, if you go onto the internet and you try to buy something without gemological training, even myself, I can't look at a gemstone on TV and know what the quality of it is.
Right.
The price of it can give me an indication, is that if it's a ruby and they're selling it for just a few $100s, well, I know it's not going to be a very good quality stone. And that's assuming, of course, then you're not even getting into the whole subject of synthetic gemstones, which are man-made stones, which are very inexpensive compared to the real thing. And a lot of synthetics do have their place in the jewelry industry, is that a lot of class rings, things like that, they're beautiful stones. And that's why class rings and those things aren't that expensive. But when you're talking about Vedic gems, you want to have a top quality stone, as clean and with a good color as possible.
Right. So if
And
you got a synthetic, it's almost like don't bother. If you get the real, what they call the Navaratna, as opposed to a secondary stone, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But synthetic don't really work in this case, is what I'm hearing you say.
my feeling about that's right. My feeling about synthetics is that my analogy is if you look in a mirror, what do you see? Is that you, or is that a reflection of you? And that's my feeling about synthetics, that they are a reflection. They aren't the real thing. They're a reflection of the real thing. The jewelry industry has come a long ways in making uh, the gemological characteristics of a synthetic very, very close to a natural stone. So it can be very difficult even for a trained gemologist to tell the difference between a natural and a synthetic stone. But I just don't believe that a synthetic stone made in a lab has the same energy of a gemstone that's taken, that's been in the ground for millions of years and took time to develop.
Right. And it has the energies of the earth, which we all need as beings living on the planet.
Right.
Jack, I want to switch gears here a little bit to Vedic astrology, and some of my listeners may be newbies and don't even know about the correlations of the 9 Vedic planets to their navaratnas or their gems. If you wouldn't mind going over that so that listeners could just get an idea of the correlations of the
Sure.
planets and the gems, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, in Vedic astrology, we speak of the 9 planets, and that there is a principal gemstone that has been ascribed to each of the planets. And for instance, the sun, and the primary stone is ruby. A secondary stone could be red spinel or red garnet. For the moon, principal stone is the pearl. Secondary could be a moonstone. For Jupiter, the yellow sapphire is the principal stone. Yellow topaz could be a secondary. Saturn, the principal is blue sapphire, and a secondary could be an amethyst. Then you've got Mars. Principal stone is the red coral. Usually I don't go with any secondary stones there. And Mercury is emerald, and the secondary stone can be green tourmaline. And then we have the 2 nodes, planetary, the Rahu and Ketu, which are the north and south nodes of the moon. And for Rahu, it's Hessonite garnet. And for Ketu, it's chrysoberyl cat's eye.
And Venus, my chart ruler. I'm wearing a Venus gem right now.
Yes, Venus. Venus is diamond, and a secondary stone could be a white sapphire. And I did want to say on choosing gems, why it's good to go to an expert, is that diamonds, in one sense, you could buy something off the internet as long as it has what's known as a certificate, like Gemological Institute of America certificate, because diamonds are very uniform in their classification. So if you go to one store or another store and say, hey, I want a VS1, which is a very slight inclusion grade 1, you're going to get that from different stores. But when you get into colored stones, that's where anything can happen, and it can be very difficult to choose a good gemstone if you don't know what you're doing.
Right. And regarding wearing a gems, I think a little knowledge is dangerous because I've had clients who are like wearing a Saturn stone, like a blue sapphire or a blue stone or amethyst, not so much, but the blue sapphire or a blue stone or even a black stone, I think sometimes goes to Saturn. And Saturn should be tread lightly with when you're wearing a remedy. I think that's a case where maybe if you don't have the advice from a professional on Vedic gems, that maybe just do the Saturn mantra, which is what I try to tell them to. The other, because Saturn's a malefic in Vedic astrology, and the other gem too, where I've seen people can have almost like adverse effects, is if they wear the Mars stone, the red coral, because again, a malefic. Charts have to be rather specific to sometimes get the benefit from those malefics, or that if they're in a certain cycle known as a dasha in the Vedic astrology, or I don't know what your opinion is about someone wearing one at a Saturn return, which is between 28:30 or 58 and 60 or 88 and 90. I don't know what your experience with people wearing stones that perhaps they shouldn't, or Saturn in general as a gem.
Yeah, that's wearing Saturn stones and Mars stones. They can be very problematic. And I had three people different times. They didn't even know each other, and one person with financial issues, one person with relationship issues, and another one with medical issues. And they were all wearing a Saturn stone. And they said that when they took them off, that their situations reversed. And that was good testimonial to me that Saturn is very difficult. I usually don't recommend Saturn unless it's very obvious in the chart, and usually for a Libra ascendant, or um, that's a can be a good place to recommend a Saturn stone. But in general, yes, I usually recommend the mantra for Saturn.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm a Libra ascendant in the Vedic astrology, and I wore a Saturn stone because it was recommended by a Vedic astrologer in my first Saturn return between 28 and 30. And it wasn't that helpful for me, as you can imagine, going through Saturn return. But now, as a Libra Lagna, when I wear Saturn gems, they actually are great because Saturn does rule good houses in the Vedic astrology and it's located in a good place. But you have to like check all those boxes with something like Saturn. And I think the older you get, Saturn obviously is your friend because Saturn
Right.
rules aging, right?
Yeah, Saturn, one of the problems there is that if Saturn is not a friend to the chart, and by what I say by that is I tease the ladies that for half the population, half the women in the world, diamond is not their best friend.
Right.
And that if a diamond for Venus, if Venus is not a friend to your chart, and it it's not good to wear those gemstones. I have what I call candidate planets. I'll look at the ascendant and say for an Aries rising, Sun, Moon, Mars, and Jupiter are the candidate planets, and then I'll look at those planets to see if any of those planets are weak and could use strengthening. And for Venus, Mercury, and Saturn, I would not recommend gemstones for an Aries ascendant, for instance. And then that I would use that same sort of analysis for all the different ascendants.
Yes, it's funny because when I work with clients, I say you're either on team Jupiter, Moon, Mars, which is the yellow sapphire, the moonstone, or the pearl, or the red coral, or you're on team Saturn, Venus, Mercury, which are the green stones, the blue stones, and the diamonds. So I call
Right.
them teams. And so that being said, what about the sun? If somebody's ruled by the sun, can that go on either team, or what's your view on wearing the ruby or the red stone for the sun?
I mean, usually for me, for a Leo ascendant, it depends. I mean, if the sun is right next to, say, Jupiter, and Jupiter's combust, even though you're a Leo ascendant, I wouldn't recommend wearing the sunstone because you would be strengthening the sun, which could be more of a malefic influence upon Jupiter. Rather, I would suggest that you strengthen Jupiter because of the malefic quality of sun being so close, even though for a Lugna ascendant that they're friends.
Right. I think this conversation we've just had shows listeners that, yeah, it is important to know which is the right gem. We're talking more technical Vedic astrology, but you can see there is an art and science to it. When we come back, Jack's going to talk about some positive stories or testimonials he's heard from clients when they've gotten the right gem in the right setting, and how important is it to wear it as a ring or a pendant. And also, you'll tell us about your gem consultation. So stay tuned. So we're back with Jack Hauck, certified gemologist and Vedic astrologer. And Jack, I wanted to ask you, do you have some positive stories or testimonials you've heard from clients when you've gotten them the right gem and the setting for it?
Yes, and it's always fun to hear. I mean, many times people will get the gems and I don't hear back from them, but then some people they'll just send me just very heartwarming testimonials. And there was one couple, and they were unsure of whether they should get married or not, and they were going through professional counseling and all, and they came to me, and because they'd heard about the use of Vedic gems. And a good suggestion for a married couple is, well, why don't you both get the gemstones that you need, rather than getting a diamond for the lady and a gold band for the man. And they both got the gemstones that they needed. I did a gem reading on each of their charts, and that they did get married, and that they've been very successful. And they were very happy with that, having come to me on that.
Oh, I love that gem love story. That's good to know. I mean, because you're right. A lot of people, half the population, can't really wear diamonds, and that's the classic marriage gem. So that's a great story.
Yeah, because one thing you got to remember with gemstones is they tend to boost or to amplify uh, the positive or challenging aspects of a planet. And so wearing the wrong gemstone, say, for instance, if you wore a very large diamond, which I have seen on this, is that it could create too much um, consciousness, say, of the body or the senses, and it keeps people away from their spiritual self. And that's one thing I do try to do in all the readings, and that what the gems are trying to do is that you're trying to get a balance in life, not just improving, say, the finances or the relationship, but it's also improving the relationship with the higher power. And that is the greatest use of Vedic astrology.
Right. Now, have you had any positive testimonials from people regarding health issues and they started wearing the right gem?
I have, yes. One lady was having reproductive issues. We did a gem reading for her and recommended a stone for her. And of course, I did recommend to her also make sure that you're seeing your doctors, and also do prayer and meditation at the same time, and that she was able to get pregnant. And so she was very happy with that.
Was it a Jupiter stone where Jupiter has a rulership over facilitating a marriage and childbirth if it's indicated by their chart, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and we did use a yellow sapphire for her.
excellent. What about people who are having financial issues? I mean, I have my own testimonial. I got a Vedic white sapphire for Venus 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. And I noticed as soon as I started wearing it that my financial situation got better. And it was weird because I wasn't really getting it for that. I was getting it for relationship. And so as an aside, being a Venus stone, the financial situation improved at that time as well. As soon as it literally within a week of wearing it.
Gemstones for different people, and it can take some time. Some people feel it right away. Some people it takes time to feel the effects of a stone. And I'll recommend to people 6 months from now, look back at your life and see if what you have wanted to achieve by putting on the gemstones, to see if that has in fact come to fruition.
Right. And I have experienced what I thought was the assimilation of the gemstone, where it's like, oh man, it's not working as powerfully as it did when I first got it. So, what I've done is put mine in a puja, which is a Sanskrit ceremony, a Vedic ceremony, to like almost cleanse it. And that leads me to my next question for you, Jack. How can people clean these Vedic gems the proper way so not to interfere with the energy of the gem?
Right. There are different herbs that can be made up, that a stone can be put in, and it can be different herbs for different gems.
Oh,
And when gem recommendation is done, that can be done. I do recommend that people, if they have an altar, and put the gems on the altar before they put them on. And usually, you're trying to, just in general terms, you try to put these on sort towards a full moon if you can. But to me, prayer and meditation can really help to bless the stone, ask for the divine to cleanse it, and sometimes putting, say, for instance, a pearl in clear water, or fresh water, and have the moon, bathe it with its energies.
that's for the pearl or moonstone specifically, moon gems. But can you
Right,
do
but
that
there are,
with other? Can you do it with the other gems, other planetary gems?
I feel, because of the moon, and the moon is our emotional nature, that would be a good and effective way of doing it.
Excellent. So, does it matter when somebody gets a gem if it's in the ring setting or if it's in a pendant? Is there a difference that we can speak to, or is it dependent on the individual?
In general, you're trying to get the gem um, to be on the body as much as possible.
Right.
I
Make
believe
contact. Right. Yeah.
contact, and the ring is, I feel, better because it's easy to wear a ring. You can have it on all the time, and a pendant might not be quite as. You wouldn't always necessarily want to wear your pendant depending upon what clothes you're wearing. But there's some people that their profession, say they're a massage therapist, and they don't want to wear any rings. So a pendant would be perfect in that situation. And so you want to have some common sense with this. And I recommend a ring, but some people, and again, they don't even like rings. So they'll wear it as a pendant.
The last piece I want to ask you about the work you do is you offer a gem consultation. We've talked about all this, and now I'm sure we've piqued the curiosity of listeners. So, how can they reach you and tell us about the gem consultation that you have available through your website?
Yes, my website is healinggems.com. That's healing gems with one G. What I offer is a gem recommendation. It's a 4 to 5 page report and goes into, it gives you some background of whatever ascendant you are, and then looks at as I mentioned it earlier in the talk about the candidate planets, each ascendant may be in one camp of Sun, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, and the other camp of Saturn, Mercury, Venus. And depending upon your ascendant, we would look at those candidate planets to see if, in fact, any of them are weak enough that you would want to be wearing a gemstone. And then I also look and see what kind of strength that you need. And sometimes a secondary stone might be all that you need. Other times it might be a powerful principal stone.
That's excellent. So, going through your website, healinggems.com, 1G, and they can email you. What is your email, Jack?
It is J Hauck, HAUCK, the number 7 at cox.net.
Thank you. My guest today has been Jack Hauck. It's been a pleasure having you on Cosmic Scene, Jack.
Well, thank you, Jill. It was great to be here and talk about this.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode with my guest, Jack Hauck, certified gemologist and Vedic astrologer. Make sure that you subscribe, download, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine signing out, sending healing Vedic vibrations through the quantum field.